What's up, everybody? This is your boy Ken, aka MrGentleman, your host of MrGentleman Like That podcast. And this week's sponsorship is from Newsly. Newsly is a all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android. It picks up web articles about the most trending topics on the web at any given moment and read them to you in a natural human voice. For the first time in ever of the internet, the entire web becomes listenable, all in one place. Browse articles from topic choose, start playing, start scrolling, and start listening. You can follow any topics as you specifically as you like, from sports, science to Bitcoin, even for the Kardashians. It will find you on the latest article and you read them to you out loud. And they have podcasts as well. Explore trending podcasts from over 50 countries. Our podcast, MrGentleman Like That podcast, is on there as well. Yes, it is. Shout out to Newsly for that. I started using it as my default podcast app. Download and use Newsly for free from www.newsly.me or from the link in the description. Use the promo code MrGentleman that I will also put in the description and receive 1 month free premium subscription. So you already know, y'all, download Newsly now. Check it out. Support them, y'all. This is your boy Ken, aka MrGentleman, your host of MrGentleman Like That podcast, and enjoy the show. You are now listening to MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast Season 7. Hello, everybody. This is your boy Ken, aka MrGentleman, 1/4 of the Premier Boys Podcast, and your host of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Welcome to another new episode of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Hope all is well. On the episode, I got my special guest. She is a social digital expert. She is a journalist. She is a speaker. She takes event pictures. She does a lot and many more. And we're going to talk to her about her many things, from life as a journalist, life as a tech girl, her experiences with Lincoln, her role with the Daily News, her life-changing experiences, and many more. This was a really amazing conversation, and she is an amazing storyteller. You're going to have to sit back for this one, because this will be a long interview, but it is worth it. So y'all already know what to do. Sit back, relax, and I'll be right back.
What's up, y'all? It's your favorite Virgo host, Shakita Johnson from the Chronicles of a Virgo podcast, and you are now locked into the MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. And that's the time for MrGentleman Facts, quote of the day. And today's quote of the day is, always remind yourself that your hard work will be worth it. And I say this because no matter what, even when things seem hard, your hard work will be worth it in the end, as long as you keep going and don't give up. And that is today, MrGentleman Facts, quote of the day. Hello, everybody. This is your boy Ken, aka MrGentleman, and I am the host of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast. And this commercial break is brought to you by MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast. On MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast, we interview many guests about their life journey, pretty much where they come from and where they at now. Also promoting their brands or whatever they're doing at the time they come on the show. We also have the host talk about personal stories about himself and everything that he's been through. And also we have fun conversation about anything music, anything old school, relationships, wrestling, and many more. And y'all can tune in to MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast every Sundays at 12 a.m. We are also on every Thursdays at 12 a.m. for Spin-Off Series Thursdays, where we have all of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast spin-off series all in one day, where we have a conversation about music podcast every first Thursday at 12 a.m. The Old School Show with myself and the Star Roddy Rod every fourth Thursday at 12 a.m. And we have Date Night Talk Podcast with myself and Miss Vanna B every second and third Thursday at 12 a.m. And y'all can tune in to MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Pods, and many more. Or y'all can check it out on the official website of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast, www.realmrgentlemanlifestylepodcast.com, www.realmrgentlemanlifestylepodcast.com. And tune in every Sundays and Thursdays at 12 a.m. for MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Thank y'all for tuning in to this commercial break of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Back to your regularly scheduled program. Cheer!
Hi, this is Janie Ho, and you are listening to the MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast.
Yes, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. And at this time, I got my special guest. She is a writer. She takes pictures, and she does a lot. And I look forward to having a conversation with her. We got Miss Janie Hong in the building. Janie, how are you doing?
Hi, it's Janie Ho, and I'm really excited to be here. Thanks, Ken, for having me.
Yes, and thank you for coming on the show. You know, honestly, I want you to come on the show for a minute, so I'm happy that I finally have you on the show.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. It's hard getting schedules to sync. Everybody's so crazed now, but glad we got it.
Yes. I agree. But before we dive into more of the topic, let's start off with where are you from?
I'm from Staten Island, New York, which is a loaded answer, but it has a lot of bad representation in the media. Some earned, some not. So it's an interesting place, but it's part of New York City.
Nice, New York in the building. Nice.
Yeah.
So, how would you describe yourself as a person? Name 3 words.
Name 3 words. I would say creative and warm, which I think is an important word because you can be cordial but not warm. And I think I'm warm in that I'm approachable. And fun, which is not a very academic word, but I think I try to be fun more than other people sometimes.
Those are good choices. And speaking of fun, not that you should fun. That was a good segue, by the way. That was a good segue.
And I didn't mean for that to be a segue into yeah.
But it was good. What one thing you like to do for fun?
I know people ask me what hobbies I have, and I don't know if I have any hobbies because I have so many things to do that I don't partake in that. But I was a restaurant critic and a nightlife writer, so I'm really into checking out restaurants. I don't know if that's a hobby, but I did it for a living for a while. So I think I might have done it more than other people. So yeah, checking out bars and restaurants and hotels, but like a profession.
No, that's really good. I like that. That's really good. That's really good. And
Thanks.
what is in your health right now? It could be a song, an album, or even a podcast.
So I have two things. One of them I was looped in from Twitter. Did we meet via Twitter? I think we did.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Twitter is amazing outside of the fact that it's falling apart, unfortunately. And for people who love Twitter for decades, that's really sad to see. Because you and I met, and many people, I've gotten jobs from Twitter. It's still my favorite one, even though it's like one of the lesser used one comparatively to the others. There's a viral video of a guy playing Runaway by Kanye West at an airport, and it's just an amazing video. So I'm into Runaway by Kanye West, which is an old song, but it's a genius song. It was named like top 25 from Variety of like the generation or the decade or something like that. The other one is Selfish by Justin Timberlake. A lot of people are not happy with Justin Timberlake, maybe myself included, but he can't make a bad song, unfortunately. So those two.
I agree. Actually, I like Runaway. I actually like Kanye's song as well. I actually like that song.
The piano. Well, I think it's big because it was a theme song to Westworld, which I have never seen, but when I look it up, but you have to see the video. It's viral on TikTok of this. It's a young Asian guy who plays it, and he kind of plays coy with the crowd at the airport. It's just a random public piano, and he starts so slow that everyone thinks it's a kid playing, just hitting one key over and over. But everyone on Twitter says, I got it when I just saw him hitting the key even without the volume. They knew what song it was. That's how brilliant that song is. So
it is. It is. And also, I like the Justin Timberlake song, I'm Selfish. I like that song as well.
It's so unique. His singing is so soulful. I mean, there's a reason why he was lead of NSYNC and they did so well, and then he went off and did all these genres and everything was a hit. He can't make a bad song. I agree. He's just not a great person. We're learning. But there's a couple of people that we look the other way for, so he's one of them. We love his music, but we have to look the other way when we love his music.
Okay, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I am looking forward to the new album, though.
We're, as a Britney fan, we're not, but we are, but we're not. They're already talking about what album should they buy the week that Justin drops. Because you know how they got Britney's old songs to beat Justin Timberlake's songs debut. It's quite the interesting. It's sad. What the fans want is not that unreasonable. They just want him to acknowledge what happened. So, okay, sorry, I go off in these tangents, but I'm really into this stuff. So.
It's good. I love conversation like this. We good.
Yeah.
But let's talk about your beginning of life. So, how was you growing up? Talk about your life journey.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So, I think so for people to understand why they should care, I mean, what is, I guess, unusual that I do. So I'm a journalist. I'm a deputy editor of growth and audience development at the New York Daily News, which just means taking every story that the entire news org has and pushing it out on 10, 12 different platforms. So it's a mix of everything, being a journalist, a tech person, a data person, a social person, a digital strategy person, marketing person. It's like, and the business person, salesperson, like everything rolled into one. But I was a journalist first, and then I worked at LinkedIn. So it's journalism and tech and growth marketing and money and revenue, which I got at LinkedIn. You marry all of that, that's audience development. So that's what I do now. Growing up, I guess I had like a pretty simple childhood. I went to a Catholic elementary school, then went to public school, and then I went to Boston College, and then I moved to LA. I love LA. I like Boston. I think it's great for college. My own perspective, maybe some others who are friends of mine, it's a great city for college, and maybe a few years after, but after that, a bigger city with more varied interests, might be better. So I spent, my 20s and 30s in New York City, and I became a nightlife writer, a restaurant writer. I was a journalist in business at CBS News, ABC News, like at the network level, like Good Morning America, 2020, CBS Evening News with Dan Rather. My first real job was for Dan Rather, was working on his show. So I've had some interesting interactions with bigger people on an everyday setting. And I worked with the C-levels, so CEO, CMO, like all the big shots, I guess, at LinkedIn. And then all of our top Fortune 100 clients. So I'm like comfortable and entrusted to be around pretty big people for a good part of my career, I guess. So that's kind of interesting. I still get starstruck though, even though I did see a lot of celebrities like in all my professions. So that's my background.
That's definitely dope, and I like that you killing it. You are killing it. I can't wait. I don't know about that.
Thank you.
I can't wait to dive more into everything that you do. I can't wait to dive into more everything that you do. But how all that you've been through made you the person that you are today?
I mean, I have a lot of trials, I think, that I've endured. I think maybe more than some people. I mean, as a kid, like my house did go on fire, but knock on wood, because I work in news, so I may know more about the tragedies that happen more than others, but there are some really prominent fires lately, especially in New York City, like a 6-year-old girl, and like you read about these tragedies, and I've had a lot of things happen to me things that I do write about. Like I was hit by a car, and my house went on fire when I was a kid. Thankfully nobody was hurt. So my dad, I lost my dad very young, like pretty much when I graduated from college, which is really young to lose a parent. I lost my grandmother a year before that, 2-3 years before that, which is, losing my dad, and he lost his mother only 3 years before. And she lived with me and raised me. So I had a lot of deaths young. And then my grandfather when I was 14. And he lived with me and raised me also. So I would say that kind of made me a sad kid. But I was generally pretty happy, and I was always a little rambunctious and very talkative and very friendly, I think. But I was always a little bit sad. I think that's biological, but it's also circumstantial. So a little of both. But I'm okay, just trying to handle all these things and their impact now. So that's what made me the person I am today, I suppose. Well, the good thing is that's made me sympathetic to people, though. I'm very empathetic. I have like compassion for people going through like the slightest things that other people may just kind of glaze over. So
yeah, and I just want to say sorry for everything that you've been through. I'm not gonna lie, that's a lie. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm happy that you really went through it, and happy that it made you stronger. And I'm happy that that you, like I said, you're doing your thing right now. So
thank you.
So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, thank you.
All right. So one thing you said when you were talking about just now, that you are a writer. You was a writer. So what inspired you to become a writer? What made you want to go that route? And what was your first piece of writing that you wrote? First thing that you wrote, I should say.
Oh, I'm a deputy editor now, so I don't actually like to write, but I like the final product. I'm happy when I write something that's really unusual, where every word matters, there are no fillers. It's not like the ramblings that I write on Instagram. Like when I write a real piece, to me, every word should have a place, and every word should matter, and every word should be intriguing and draw you in a little more. That's hard to do, and I stopped doing it because I don't like to write, and I can't write at high volume. So I look at my reporters, they write 8 stories a day, which is really hard. It would take me 8 hours just to wrap my mind around what I'm going to write. So what made me be a writer? I think I like to communicate. I was a communications major, which is like journalism, broadcast journalism, feature writing, news writing in college. And when I was in high school, I was a standout to my teachers. I was in the scholars program, which is 2 classes out of, 500 kids. It's like 2 classes of 30. That was the honors program. And out of all of that, out of both classes, just for writing, but like the style of writing. I mean, my knowledge of what I was writing may not have been the best, but it was the style of writing. That was always called out. I was always the only one to get the A, and that was always called out. And it was always befuddling to people, because I went to a public high school in New York City, but the top 25 kids went to top 50 schools, which is very good for a public high school that's free. And it's not like a magnet school. It was a regular high school that happened to have a good scholars program. And the Ivy League kids, some of them were not very kind, and they were very confused how I was doing so well. Like beating everybody in writing. I took a class for a Princeton review for my SATs, and that is a test where you could do well without studying if you're really that good at test taking, but you really do need a course to do well on that, because it just measures how well you take it. So when you take that class, because it's math and verbal, they give you a free subscription to Time magazine. And because of that subscription, I learned how to write well, because their writing is so strong, so unique, so much of a voice. So that's how I got it. I was 15, I got a free subscription to Time magazine, and from that I became a journalist. And I think a lot of people have, read my stuff, so imagine the impact just from that magazine. So that magazine subscription. I also got a free magazine subscription to New York Magazine, and that became my favorite, and I wound up writing for them and GQ, but New York Magazine, the same. Magazines have more of a voice, whereas a newspaper or a website just tells you what happened. So I was inspired by that. At one point, I was subscribed to 10 to 15 different magazines, and I would read them cover to cover, sometimes in a week, like weekly magazines. So I do like magazines, and they're supposed to be uplifting and inspirational, and that's essentially what I hope for in my writing, which I don't do anymore, but I am an editor, so I'm not totally given up on the written word.
That's a good segue, because you just mentioned that you're all former lifestyle journalists at GQ, Business Week, New York Magazine, and CBS News. Tell us your experience there, and what did you learn from that experience working there?
So journalists are kind of skeptical of a lot. So when I tell people, I loved all my experiences, but a lot of places where I've worked are so weird. You read about if you're in media, you read about headlines. It's very big on Twitter. Media is really big on Twitter because you're sharing news, and Twitter is the best for sharing news and getting the best, wittiest, fastest, and widest range of reaction to really interesting news as soon as it breaks, which is what Threads does not have. Yeah. On Threads, you really can't see the breadth of what's being said about the fastest moving topics. So if you read about media, it's really weird in the media business, especially in the news business. It's sad sometimes. It's strange people at the top. So I really loved all my experiences, but news media can be unforgiving. It's a hard industry, even though I go to recruit at NYU and Columbia still. I'm doing that next month at both graduate and undergraduate journalism programs in New York. And I want them to get into the field. I used to run the intern program at the New York Daily News where I'd recruit from like 10, 20 different schools. And I ran the whole program and taught them every week and got speakers. And I was in charge of their experience and their learnings. It's a great experience. But I mean, at some of these places, I was getting paid almost like nothing. Other places I was getting paid okay. Oftentimes you get paid in exciting experiences, but there's only so long that you can do that. You can do that in your 20s, but in your 30s, you need to make normal money and not be around a good amount of crazy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but everyone's brilliant. Everyone's smart and witty and funny, and it's not a frat house. I've been exposed to lots of different industries, and I mean, you need sales, you need business people, you need more academic, like you need all different ranges of people. But in a newsroom, it's some of them are cliquey, but others, they're very serious and they're really well read and they're really knowledgeable about cultural events and significance. And it's nice to be around like deeper conversation. CBS was my first. Then I went to CBS Evening News with Dan Rather. And then I produced their web content. And then I went to ABC News. I worked with Elizabeth Vargas when she was at 2020 and Good Morning America. That was interesting. I went to Business Week. I was a reporter there. And then I worked at New York Magazine and GQ as contributing lifestyles, food and restaurant, nightlife, and relationship writing, which is my favorite. That's my favorite topics.
I was going to ask you, like, out of the experience that you just had just now, what would you expect your favorite?
Yeah, I'll be very honest about this. I mean, the first thing that I tell people is New York Magazine and GQ, even though I was paid the least there, because the topic was so interesting. I do love restaurants and nightlife and relationships. The better the topic, the less it's going to pay. I mean, if you write for an industry business journal for CEOs, where CEOs are paying for that subscription, you're going to make a lot of money. You're not going to have the clout when you say the name of the publication to people. You have to explain what it is. And it's not fun. Like when I was at Business Week, the money would be better than GQ and New York Mag at that level. When you get to a higher level at any magazine, you're going to do pretty well. But in the early days, the funner content, like if you work at SNL, Saturday Night Live, you could be making $9.50 an hour. I guess it's more now because of the minimum wage. And I have thoughts about minimum wage also, but you could be making $10, $12 an hour working literally overnight from Wednesday to Saturday. But it's exciting. It's fun. And if you don't do it, somebody else will. There are people who pay Cosmopolitan for internships. They will pay the magazine because it's a cool magazine. That's pretty sad. But that is my favorite. Those two are my favorites. I say this because it was unfortunate that at the time it wasn't sustainable for me because it was a cool topic and cool places and they don't have to pay. So, but those are still my favorite places. And I still share. I just did an Instagram post where I was sharing a restaurant review that I wrote for New York Magazine way back when. I don't share from any other place that I work, like Business Week or CBS News. So stuff is fun. Stuff is interesting to me. Of course, I can't go to restaurants now because it's so expensive everywhere, but we can get into that another time.
Yeah. Time change. Yeah, time change with the restaurant.
Well, more so, I think, after the pandemic. Are they taking advantage? I mean, I've been reading why restaurants are skyrocketing and groceries, and some of it's really legit from after the pandemic, things that they can't control. But, I mean, it really could go up 100%. Like, it doubled in price from the pandemic.
No, it really did. It really did. And it's more because now they want people to pay more taxes They added like another tax called a pandemic tax, and that's how restaurant. But yeah,
well, then we have multiple wars where the supplies come from. The supply chains are really disrupted, and then people don't want to work in the food business because the pandemic risk. I mean, people are still getting COVID and getting very sick from it. So for $10, $20 an hour, do you want to be around hundreds of people talking and around dirty dishes? So that's something where also they don't pay as much because you're paying $25 for a burger and fries. I mean, you're not going to get it for much less than that at a fun place, at a nice place. So it's pretty unfortunate. So I do my research and I still find some deals where I get some people together. We try not to spend like $50, $100 for a simple meal. So yeah.
But we're going to dive more into the pandemic a little later. But you currently work at the Daily News. Tell us about that and what's your role there, and how that opportunity happened.
Oh, so after LinkedIn, I worked at LinkedIn for 3 years. I was a journalist for a while. I didn't have a natural next role. I'm admitting a lot of things that aren't as flattering for me, but when people say being authentic, I'm like, what the hell does that mean? You know, like you roll your eye like, oh, be authentic. What does that mean? Like be yourself and be real. What else are people being? Being authentic means sharing things that are not flattering for you. I think that's what it means. And that's very difficult.
It is.
So at LinkedIn, I really loved the time that I had there. I mean, I'm a journalist, so working at a sales-heavy organization was a little harder for me. But I loved the people. They were really smart. The personalities were really unique and varied. I learned like I was getting an MBA at an Ivy League school. Like the leadership is incredible. But it wasn't really for me as far as what they had in New York City. It was a sales heavy organization. And people who go in sales have a very unique personality, I think. And I was very lucky to be there. But being a journalist, and having that at heart, it was a little struggle for me. So I was there for 3 years. It took me a long time to get a job after LinkedIn because there was no natural next step, because I had journalism and I had some business and tech and leadership training from LinkedIn and data storytelling. But I wasn't quite there where I could get a job in data or any of those other aspects. So it took me a while. And you keep building your network, the network that you have, and you keep fostering that especially when you don't need something. And I had some colleagues at the Daily News, and he really liked my experience. I completely forgot. I became an adjunct professor. Forgot about that after LinkedIn. But that's kind of a part-time job, a very part-time job as far as pay goes, but as far as hours, it's a lot of hours. So I really commend teachers because I really loved it, but I feel like I went kind of above what I should have. And I really loved the kids and I loved doing it, but it was tons of hours that I did not need to do. And it's kind of a thankless job sometimes. But I loved the experience. I was an adjunct professor at FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology. It's a SUNY, which I didn't know until I got there. Great school, like creatives in business. It's not a foofy kind of creative. I mean, I'm not saying creative is foofy at all. I do a lot of creative work as side jobs. But some people may see it as like, oh, they design little dresses. No, they're making their median salary is like $100,000. They're like, some of these kids are shooting for the biggest brands in the world, and they're really talented. So I was an adjunct for a little while, and then I couldn't get I was just networking around, and some former colleagues suggested that I be referred for a job as an audience development leader and a growth leader at the New York Daily News. I had the editor-in-chief. I got another job, which I'm not someone who could work at small companies. A lot of people thrive at it, and I think it's great for many. You can move really fast. You don't need so much permission. You learn how to do many different units jobs. It's great if you need to learn a lot and try a lot of things very quickly. And we went for great dinners. Like, there are a lot of good reasons. I worked directly with the CEO.
Nice.
But if it's a weird environment, it's like amplified in a small company. Yeah. If there are a couple of weird personalities, you're working on top of these people. And I think I had that directly on my team. I was hired to run this little team, and the girl who was working under me said that she was actually hired to be my boss. So it was very weird. It was a very weird dynamic. Nothing was very clear. That's the thing about some small companies. Some people can rise and they may not have like the really polished professional skills to be a leader. And that causes some chaos. So anyway, I was really happy to be called by the Daily News when I was at that company. I just started. Because I just started at that small company, the editor-in-chief came all the way up to Hudson Yards from Financial District, which is really far because I could not leave my job for 3 hours. I just started.
Oh, wow.
The editor-in-chief came up to Midtown to interview me. I told that to someone, and he said that's pretty much him just luring you in and finalizing it before you spoke to him, which is so flattering. From that story alone, that tells you that he was behind me every step. I mean, he threw me into Tribune, published Chicago Tribune, Baltimore Sun, like all our sisters. He threw me into like the parent company meetings, executive meetings, leadership meetings, digital strategy meetings. He had me work with the C-levels at Tribune. Like, he really threw everything behind me. So it was a really good experience. I'm still there, but we've had a lot of changes. People could read about it, but it's still a great place. News orgs, they weather a lot of unique circumstances. But I'm happy, and I'm still a leader. So it's 8 different units, and I know so much about New York pro sports, and we have 8 fantastic hometown teams competing at the highest level in every league.
Yeah.
So it's really exciting that I get to read the best guys covering it and girls covering it. And then crime, we're excellent at crime. Everybody's citing the Daily News in the crime area. And then city issues, city politics, state politics, really dedicated, really sharp, experienced people. And the editorial board, they give the opinion of the paper on the most important topics that are impacting everyone's lives, from the city to national. Just really brilliant writers, laying out what's happening actually in the news, and what's the perspective that you should have on Trump, the elections, all of it. And then entertainment, celebrity, pop culture, national news, just a really strong team there too. So all of these units, everything goes through me and my team.
Nice.
And I decide where each of those things go across social, digital, platform, apps, email, newsletters, push notifications, and using data and optimizing it for Google. And it's everything goes through us. Sometimes one person for all those different 12 different platforms, 8 different units. It goes through one person. So it's a tight ship. It's a small ship now. And that's what I oversee.
Well, I gotta say that you're really killing it.
It sounds exciting to someone out of it. Like, there are people doing it much bigger than I am, but it's all relative. But thank you.
No, you are. I enjoy. I'm not gonna lie. I really enjoy, your storytelling. Like, I enjoy everything you share right now.
Oh,
and it does sound exciting. I'm not gonna hold you. It does sound exciting.
It's really interesting. I mean, I did this at CBS News too, but I wasn't the leader. I was like, the little person writing little things. I'm still that person writing little things. I mean, I'm doing the tweeting, I'm doing the Facebooking, but I do also oversee, and I'll go back to the editor. I'm like, what the hell is this? So I'm like, I'm not pushing it out. Like, I wasn't doing that at 20, so I'm still doing essentially the same thing, but I'm just overseeing it a little more. The exciting thing is that no 2 days are alike. Like when I was at Business Week, you have a beat, right? So I was covering business school because that's a really lucrative franchise for Business Week. Like, what MBA program should you go to? That's a lot of money, and where you go to get your MBA matters. Like, where you go for law school, medical school may not matter, but where you go for your MBA does matter. So that's a huge industry. I was writing about the MBA and graduate education trends. I was writing about that every day. I feel like you could write like 1 or 2 stories on it and you're like, okay, I need something else now. I don't know, people are on their beat, like the Jets, the Giants, like real estate in New York City. They're on that beat for years. My content changes every hour. It's like, oh, Steph Curry's having a 4th baby, by the way. Steph Curry is having a 4th baby. Yes, I did that alert like an hour ago. That was taking up my life an hour ago. An hour before that, I was working on 10 different stories from 8 different units, like the biggest crime and like, mass shootings and Mayor Adams probe. Like, these are every single hour, a different story, taking up my attention, at the forefront of my attention. Everything, it shifts like every couple minutes. So that's exciting. That keeps things interesting. But
even though you do a lot, and I'm loving it, but you also do something else. Oh. You're also an event photographer. So tell us more about that. And what do you love about it?
I always like taking pictures. I mean, I was a journalist, so journalists are going to be naturally decent if you're good at it. Like, you should be decent at social media, and social media is creative and words. So I was okay at social media, but then I learned all the technical and marketing and SEO and data aspects behind it. So that made me want a little more valuable than a regular journalist who doesn't know that stuff, because that stuff is audience development. That's like the most recruited, sought after, hard to find skill, I would say. So I do all of that, but so you have to be good at words, but you also have to be good at creative. A story can be really great, but it's not going on the front page if we don't have great art. It cannot. So I've always had an eye and a knack for this, because I've always been producing things with words, and I need the pictures to go with it, or the footage. When I was at LinkedIn, they say like journalists would be good photographers because they tell stories. They look for deeper meanings behind any images or any medium that they're looking to tell a story through. So one thing is, like, you're not going to know the technical aspects. I happen to get the technical aspects because it is very technical being a photographer. For that reason, data analysts would be very good photographers too. And a lot of data analysts and engineers are very good photographers because it's a very technical thing. I'm very economical. I'm very like frugal with money, and like, well, I don't waste money. Like, I will spend, but it has to be worth it. Yeah. When I was at LinkedIn, that's very good for my bosses. Like, I will not spend money recklessly, even if it's not my money, because I also know that I'll pay for it somewhere else where I can't like expense this or that because I spent too much money on this nonsense. When I was at LinkedIn, Pepsi was one of my bigger clients, and we were going upstate where they're not. Armonk is not upstate, but it's upstate to me. Like Poughkeepsie, like Yonkers is like upstate to Staten Island. So we went up to Armonk, and we were supposed to. It was just like a nice thing to do. We were going to be around all their recruiters, which is what they spend $10,000 per seat on at LinkedIn. We were going to go just like teach them how to use LinkedIn and teach them like the ins and outs, because they were having like an off-site company event with all their recruiters. So we want to make sure that they were using the platform. So to make it nice, we're like, oh, let's take LinkedIn profile pictures for them. That requires hiring a photographer, bringing him and his equipment up from New York City to Armonk, like shipping him up there with us, his equipment, putting him up in a hotel, getting his transportation. I'm like, that sounds stupid. Like, this is like a pro bono nice thing to do. And then we just had this idea about the photography thing. It's not necessary. I was like, why don't I go to B&H? Because we were in the Empire, they're still in the Empire State Building. So B&H is down the block. It's like the best photography store, photo equipment store, and like so knowledgeable people. I bought an SLR for $500. I expensed half of it. See, I'm nice. I expensed half of it. And the big boss of my whole strategic team across the nation, he was like, Janie, tell me about this camera that you expensed. I'm like, well, we could have spent thousands on this photographer, but I spent $250. I will do it, and we can use that camera for all our other clients at LinkedIn. And he's like, that's a good use of money. However, I wasn't a photographer. I didn't actually know what I was doing. I took my office manager up. He stayed with us in the hotel because he was pretty good at the setup and doing it. But I wanted to be the photographer. So I still had the camera with me. A year later, my friend was telling me how much she paid at the mall and JCPenney's for kids' pictures. It's outrageous. I'm like, well, I've always been decent at taking pictures with a point and shoot. But I'm like, I have an SLR. I could try some. And she said they were better than JCPenney's, which is hundreds. Wow. Hundreds. It's like $50 for one printed picture. You want the rest of them, you're going to pay up. And she said they were better. Since then, I've done hundreds of shoots. I just build myself as an affordable, a fun and reasonably priced portrait and event photographer. It's fun because it gets me into events and word of mouth. Like part of my thing is teaching people how to use Facebook and social media for business and career with no budget, like not paying for its use, just knowing how to use it the most effectively for free. It's spread in groups, and I've done weddings. I did second shooter, which means you are the second to the main photographer who was hired. And you get your photos as samples, and you get paid like $300 to $500, I think, but it's for like, 10, 12 hours of work, and then commuting and traveling, and then the editing. The editing is months of work, which is why photographers are so much. It's like for a wedding, it's like a year of work, maybe more, for that price that you pay. So yeah, weddings. A lot of portraits. It's fun because it gets me into very cool events. I shot, I don't know how, people referred me to Harvard Business School. So I shot like their alumni events in New York City. Like, I don't think they asked me again because I'm still single, but I was very single at the time. I'm like, this is exciting. This is like my chance. Harvard Business School alumni in New York City. I'm like, this is like the mecca of what I'm looking for. So I was trying to like talk to all the guys. I don't think they did not hire me again after that. I mean, the girls were there too. So, but I've shot a lot of really cool engagement parties at the best restaurants. I negotiated like a photographer meal, and I've shot so many parties, and I would like to do 2 more weddings in my life. It's very stressful doing a wedding, but it's fun. It's just like writing. You like the finished product, but it's very hard to do the full work. So, yeah. Sorry, that was a long answer, but it's a cool.
It's good. No, it's good.
It's a cool profession.
And I saw your pictures on IG, and they are really good.
Oh, thank you. I will say, I go up to everybody who has a camera around their neck. There's a thing like Matthew Hussey's like my favorite life, relationship, and dating coach. And he said, you need to talk to someone every day in a dating perspective, because you don't do it just with the guy that you think is going to be your soulmate. You do it on the normal people. That's what you practice on. So it's like a part of your everyday. So I'm like, well, I could get something out of talking to photographers. And that could help me in the dating sense too. So I get more comfortable talking to strangers. I talk to everybody. I was on the Staten Island ferry. I mean, a lot of people on the ferry will have a camera because there's a lot to take a picture of, skylines, Statue of Liberty. I've made a number of good friends, like a number of good friends going up to them. And they were New Yorkers, not tourists, which is good because I want a friend. But one guy gave me I didn't actually keep in touch with him, but he told me in 1 second and then we parted ways. He said, the one thing that will really help you is buying a lens. Buy a prime lens, a 35 1.8. It's $250. I told you, the whole camera was $500. I'm like, $250, I don't really know what I'm doing. Do I want to invest in this? It changed everything. The camera and the lens, they do the work for you, but it's really the photographer. That's what professionals told me when I was second shooting under them and learning. Because I said sometimes my camera breaks, not something that they want to hear. So I have a point and shoot, which is, stupid camera. It's expensive. It's like $250 also, but it's a point and shoot. It's nothing like a powerful SLR or the mirrorless cameras, like the expensive, nice cameras. But she's like, you could still shoot better than a professional photographer with $1,000 camera with a point and shoot. Don't let your camera break. But if you had to, it's the photographer. You could shoot really well with a phone camera. You shouldn't. They will never call you back. But she's just saying it is the photographer, but the lens and the camera can really make up for a lot too, or help you. It can help you a lot. Yeah.
But like I said, you're doing good. I saw the pictures, so you're doing good. And keep going at it. Keep going at it.
I don't charge a whole lot. I also do mini shoots, which winds up not being so mini because I want samples. So I wind up doing these smaller shoots, and then I wind up giving them the full thing. But I think photography. I think obviously I know that it's worth something. I still couldn't bring myself to hire someone to do a shoot. It's expensive. So I want people to know that it doesn't have to make you feel like a pinch. You can get a photo shoot and not feel ripped off. Like if you get lucky and you find like budding photographers, kind of like I am, even though I've been doing it a couple of years now, but I do it on the side. You can find some and get some really nice pictures without breaking the bank. Real photographers, they do charge a whole lot, and it's worth it, but I still wouldn't do it. One, because I don't like my pictures. I don't like me in pictures, so I can't justify, because I don't know how they're going to come out, and I don't want to spend hundreds of dollars to see my ugly face. So.
I feel you.
Yeah.
And I definitely should book you. I might need to book you in the future. So.
Oh, you're so nice. Well, the other thing is, if you have a creative talent or any talent, you can barter. I've bartered a lot because of my photography. So like if you create websites, someone just posted on Twitter that he got like cabinets made and they were gorgeous. He's like, I got custom cabinets made and I built him a website. I'm like, I don't know if building a website is really complex sometimes. So I bet it's like a basic one, but this is a weird aside, and I don't think he would ever listen to this, but the show The Bachelor?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really famous show. It's been like 25 years now.
Yeah.
I was commenting on like one of the Bachelor contestants. Like he was one of the, the millions of guys on the show that season. I was commenting on his Instagram. I mean, I thought he was a good looking guy, but it's more so because he was so interesting. I wasn't trying to like pick him up. He looked at my profile. Photography it's like universal. Everybody needs it. Everybody wants it. There's an interest from everyone.
Yeah.
He messaged me and said, "Are you a photographer? Do you want to meet up?" Photography is useful, and it's like a key to talk to anyone, because especially if you're big on social media, you want pictures. It's a very, any creative talent, like if you make websites, if you can produce TikToks, everybody needs this stuff. So if I post on LinkedIn, I don't care what industry you're in, you're going to be a little interested in what I have to say, because everyone needs photography.
Yeah,
so it's very good to barter your creative skills.
Yeah.
Like you produce podcasts.
Yeah.
You could get things that you cannot afford by helping someone with their podcast production.
Yeah. I definitely do that. I do that. I do help other people with their podcast stuff. Yeah.
But you should do that as an official, thought out barter. Sometimes, like, think about what you need and look to barter that. I actually went on Airbnb experiences and reached out to a bunch of photographers and to swap shoots, and I got my best photos that I've been using for more than a decade, which I should admit that you should not be using such old photos. But I didn't pay for it, and he was fantastic. And he didn't want that many photos of himself. And that's because I reached out and I said, let's swap. You never reach out for something free. You always put some skin in the game. Yeah. So having a creative skill, I will not pay for a photographer for like my whole life. So it's good to leverage your skills.
No, yeah. It is. I agree with that. It is.
Yeah.
But it's time to get a little serious. So you was involved in a hit and run incident.
Yeah.
Tell me everything about it. How that moment changed your life, and how are you doing now?
Oh, thank you. It was actually 2016. So it was a while ago. It was, oh my God. So in November, it's 8 years, which I can't believe because I feel like it's taken over my life. I did another podcast on this with a group that it's comprised of people who lost someone or who were hit by vehicles themselves, and now it's a national group with like subgroups across the country and around the world. Even it's a really, because it's when do you join groups for a tragedy? It's very impactful, and it really does change your life. I thought that it would be akin to getting a really bad sports injury, like you get up and you recover. It's really not like that. Like your mind, you're not the same for the rest of your life, which is a little dramatic, but especially if you were, I'm okay now. So it sounds really dramatic, but it was 2016. I was in Staten Island. I was coming home late at night, and I was hit by a car that was making a turn, and it was speeding in that it was going faster than it should have been. You don't have to like burn rubber and make screeching sounds to be speeding. You could just be going over the speed limit, which is set for a reason. I don't like going slow. I'm not like prudish when it comes to like driving. Sometimes I think people are driving too slow, and I think that's not safe. Yeah. But there is a reason why you should be looking and not whipping around a corner. When a left turn is where most people die. Because of how the car frame is, you don't see it as well. Like when you're making a right turn, it's your whole windshield. You could see everything. So it was late at night. I was hit. I fell 15 feet back. The person stopped. And I looked right into his license plate, and I thought I should probably memorize this, but I know a lot now. That would do nothing. You need to have a picture and a video of the person hitting you with the plate and the person's picture in the car. You're not going to have that. So, I was in the hospital. I had about 5 broken bones, and I was in the hospital for about a month. I didn't work for about a year. I was in physical therapy for like 7 months or so. I was okay though. I mean, the night of the ER, the doctors knew that I would be okay. I would still feel something maybe for a good part of my life. I'm still like at a 2 out of 10 in pain, which is not a lot, but it's there. It's more, I think like the mental impact is worse. You have flashbacks every day. The New York Times executive editor, she was hit by a car. She had brain damage, and obviously she's going to write about it really well. She said, your days of carefree wanderings in urban environments ended abruptly and forever. You will never walk around carefree again. Not that I was ever walking around like la-di-da, but you will be stressed out every day that you are outside walking. How often are you outside walking? All the time. You will be stressed out. every time you do that. And she wrote this like 12 years later. The Moscow bureau chief wrote and sent her an email and said, I don't mean to alarm you, but your life will never be the same again. And it was true. So it's a big thing. Even if you tap someone, even if you injure them a little, it's more of a mental anguish for the rest of their life. So it's I don't know, it's kind of a difficult experience. I'm okay though. Most days I don't think about it. I think about it a little bit when I am walking outside. But you will relive it. You will stop what you're doing and relive it for like 10, 20 minutes sometimes. So it's hard to shake, which is what a lot of people don't understand. I was very public about it though. Like I was in the paper about it. Most people who get hit by cars don't go in the paper. You only read about people who die. So that's why I think it was interesting. But I was looking for who hit me, and the paper was willing to run it. So they kind of documented my journey. They put me on the front page because I had good photography. You don't put something on the front page unless it has very good art, and I happen to have good photos from when I was testifying at City Hall. And no one really knows what the inside of City Hall looks like, so it was just interesting documentation. Yeah. You do not want to publicize a negative experience. There are people who will make it a very unpleasant experience for you. Yeah. Even if you were like quote unquote a victim, there are people who will really go against you, and it's not fun. A lot of people support you too, but I did it because I wanted people to understand what it's like and what their actions do. You are fully protected in a car. You could drive off when someone is laying in the middle of the road, and it really will not affect you. Yeah. If you want to kill someone, the saying is, and it's true, if you want to kill someone, a vehicle is the way to do it, because you will not even get a ticket. Even if they have video with the plate and your picture, it's still very hard to get convicted or even charged. It's really hard. So it's interesting.
Yeah. I just want to say thank you for sharing that. I know that was a lot. I listened to one of the interviews that you was on and spoke about it.
I can't believe you listened to that.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, thank you. I will say, if anyone wants to, it's with the Library of Congress. My group asked me to share my story. I've introduced Mayor de Blasio. He was the New York City mayor. I introduced him at press conferences. Like, I like sharing my story, and some people like hearing it, so they asked me to. That is bit.ly Janie Story Corps, CORPS, all lowercase. So Janie Story Corps, that's the 38 minute podcast if you want to hear just about that.
And once again, thank you for sharing that. And I'm glad that you are doing way better now. So thank you for sharing it. Thank you. But we spoke a little about this earlier in the episode. As you already know, we are in a pandemic. I guess we're still in it. I guess. Hopefully, things got better, but who knows? Yeah. But how did the pandemic affect you, and what did you learn from it?
Well, I remember when it started to happen, my boss said, this is going to be really big. It's going to be bigger than 9/11. And I was like, no, it's not. And lo and behold, millions and millions of people were dead instantly. And your way of life around the world will never be the same again. It's mind-blowing. I mean, you look at New York City, you can, but you have to look sometimes to get a good meal after 9 o'clock. Even the best bars and restaurants, life stopped. Everything closes at 10 o'clock forever. I mean, plenty stay open, but plenty don't. 9, 10 o'clock. Malls, like the mall in Staten Island, that was my favorite pastime when I was a kid. If you don't have tons of money, but even if you do have tons of money, you can't spend every night. We went to the mall all the time. What else are you going to do? It's fun. It's fun going to the mall. You see other people, you see some music, you have nice lights, you play with some toys, you get exposed to different things that you wouldn't see normally, and you get some nice food. like Happy Meals and stuff. The mall closes at 7 o'clock. No one, I mean, I wouldn't have been able to do that if I was growing up now. Because of the pandemic, they cannot get people to work 2 shifts. You can only get the mall to open for 1 shift. Used to stay open till 9:30. So everything shifted forever. I lost my office. I mean, a lot of people are back now. A lot of companies are 2 to 3 days a week mandatory. It's good and bad. I talk about it with my team that I just saw. I see my team once or twice a year. We talk every day though, and we talk like verbally once a week. So it's a big change. We lost our office because a hedge fund bought us, but I think it was like under the guise of the pandemic. They sold it because it's cheaper. It's nice to not pay rent, I guess. I think so. For money wise, I have not had an office really for like 4 years, and I don't even know how many years it is, like going into the 5th year now. Losing my mind a little bit. It's good and bad. And then on top of that, I'm not in Manhattan, I'm in Staten Island. So I have to really seek out human contact. Like going into the city is like, I still go like once or twice a week, but that's an excursion for me because I'm not used to, and I don't think a lot of people are used to normal human interaction on a normal basis. Like when you meet with people now who you're used to slacking all week and you meet with them once a week, once every other week, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's like, it's very uncomfortable. So, and then on the dating sense, I used to write and I consult with dating apps, and I consult with people and I love teaching about dating apps and like the technical use. I follow a lot of really great dating experts, and I whittle down their expert advice, and that's how I do some talks. It's completely changed the dating world. So yeah,
that's a whole nother topic.
Yes. But just in terms of, if you thought it was hard meeting up then, imagine when people are not getting dressed or putting on makeup all week, So yeah.
Pandemic was a hard time for me. I was doing a lot in the pandemic, lost my job, a lot of mental health stuff, dealing with anxiety and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was a hard time. I mean, we all got through it, but it was a great time. And of course, the dating scene was, like I said, that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
But this.
And mind you, I didn't, knock on wood, I didn't lose anyone during the pandemic. Yeah. Plenty of people did. And can you imagine the anguish when you see that there was a vaccine like months later and you lost like your daughter, like you lost a child, and the vaccine came out like months later. So, and then it's not even on anyone's radar after that, but you lost like a parent or a kid. So yeah, we think we moved on and we're impacted, but people who lost people, can't even imagine.
It's still a lot, and I'm happy that things get a little better, but I know it's still not done yet. Yeah.
Well, Mayor Adams of New York City, he said we have to just learn to live with COVID. Just like, well, I go on all these weird tangents, but like just Staten Island just released that we need to learn how to live with turkeys. We have a lot of turkeys everywhere, but it's really a nuisance, and they die everywhere, and they go to the bathroom everywhere. They're not clean. So just like we need to just live with turkeys everywhere. Wild turkeys. They're gigantic, by the way. The New Yorkers and the world, we need to just live with COVID. So that's another part that gets interesting.
Yeah. And we're about to make 4 years with it. So, it's crazy. Great time.
Yeah.
But one thing that, the pandemic and everything that all of us were dealing with was mental health. So I want to ask you why mental health is important What was your challenges dealing with mental health?
I think it was circumstantial, but then it was also probably biology, and then it's also stress or anxiety that you need to alleviate somehow, so you could develop like certain anxieties or compulsions because you have no control over X and Y, so you need to have real control over like, you know, A and B. When I was a kid, like a lot of things, I had a very happy childhood, but I also was a sad kid, like a moody kid sometimes. And I had a lot of, I don't know, stuff to deal with, like in adolescence. Like you have a brother, you know, they go through their teenage years, and like if your dad has a temper or whatever, it becomes like a tumultuous household sometimes. I mean, you see in Staten Island, everybody has like the picture perfect family, but it's like all these big Italian families, big Jewish families. And when you talk to them, they say that two people at the same table at the wedding, they have not spoken in decades. Like they've been feuding, and that's what happens when they feud. They really do not talk for decades, and they could be sitting at the same table at a wedding. So it looks like everyone's happy, but I think a lot of families have challenges. You just can't go by what you see, especially on social media. So for me, I think I went through a lot of incidents, but then some everyday aspects with family. So I always had to navigate that. But when my dad got sick, I only had a few weeks notice. And that was like pretty close to when my grandmother passed. At the time, I was going through a really bad breakup too. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to admit this, but I mean, I've had sort of relationships, but not very long ones.
Don't worry. I can relate.
Yeah. I mean, I've had some good ones, but not the longest, I would say. I don't know. Maybe it's me. It could be me. I don't know.
I understand. I get it.
So I had the worst breakup of like my one big relationship at the same time that my dad died. I went into a very major depression after that. And I don't think it was really, my dad dying was major. I don't think that the breakup should have affected me as much as it did. I think it was because I had major depression, and it just manifested a lot. I mean, I had the classic physical symptoms, like cried every day for 2 years, woke up every morning at 4 a.m., even if I went to bed at 2 a.m. You wake up really early when you have depression. I did everything. I quit my job. I didn't find another real job for like 5 years. I tried. It was really, really bad. I did not think it would take that long. So it's had a real impact on me. I did everything. And eventually they say, sometimes it manifests in your 20s and your 30s. Your brain chemistry can just get better or manage it better. And I don't think I'd ever be back there again. But I had to do a lot of work for it. On top of medication and therapy and working with like Columbia and working with different studies. I sound like really crazy now talking about all this, but
you don't talk crazy.
Thank you. I did everything else. Like I did everything. I got a trainer. I joined a gym. I went running in the sun. I got a light box. I looked at the sun at 5 a.m. to reset my circadian rhythms. I did, and then my diet. I did everything I could have. Because I was crying every day for 2-3 years. That is depression. I didn't have anything to cry about. So mental health, it's something that I think everyone has to be aware of their own habits, especially since like social media kind of works against you. It's like actively working against you. Like I sign in to like message you that I'm going to be late. And I never get to that point because I had so many things hitting me as soon as I signed in. Which is something that I teach about how to like navigate through that and go right to the thing that gives you some impact. So, these are things that we could talk about at another time, but there are so many things that I have found really useful based on really great experts. So yeah, it's there's also a lot of really good resources out there, like the city, the state, and feds. They have hotlines just for you to talk. So therapy is really expensive, but you could, and they're helpful. They can really listen, and they'll tell you to call back whenever you want. You're not going to. You need someone to tell you, call me every Friday, like a regular session. The regular sessions are very expensive, and they may not be that helpful, and then you get even more annoyed. So using those hotlines, using city gyms, city parks, like somebody said on Twitter, like there's never a time where taking a walk will make it worse. Like you have to get outside and let time go by and be a little active. That will help a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But I just want to say thank you for sharing that. And yes, mental health is the point. I dealt with mental health as well. Of course, anxiety, depression, and stuff like that. But yeah, this is another topic that we definitely got to talk about another time, because it's so much to go into. But this, my show has always been a safe place for conversation. So don't ever feel bad about what you're talking about, because it's
I'm
never
thinking
no
about.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about. I mean, relationship wise or job wise, I don't think there are so many recruiters or prospective dates that are listening to this thinking, how do I learn everything I need? I mean, I don't think they're going to be listening to that. I don't know, but you don't want to give ammunition out there. That's why, like, I wouldn't write articles about going through any of these things, because truthfully, like, do you want to work with someone who has OCD? Like, I'm not saying I have it, but like, if you had a choice between working with someone with OCD and not, you would choose the not. So, as much as people have to be open to having these things in their personal life and hiring someone, they have their own issues. They just don't want to deal with more. So, that gets a little tricky in publicizing it, I will say. But
it does,
yeah,
it does. But let's get to more brighter note. Cause we was way too deep for the last.
Oh, I tend to go there, I guess.
That's good. I know. We tend to do that. Yeah, we tend to do that. We always do that on this show. But what is your dream venture? Something that you always want to do?
If I won the lottery, I would love. I mean, I do it already. I'm giving a talk at a conference next week. It's called App Growth Summit. They have events all over the country, all over the world, and you request a free ticket. It's all day, breakfast, lunch, happy hour with light bites, like 50 speakers or 25 speakers, really interesting, informative sessions on marketing, growth, all of that. So, like, looking up events, you should try to find some of these free events, like Meetup, Eventbrite, all of that. That's not where this would be, but so I'm speaking at one of them. My thing that I would love to do is speak. I love speaking. I think it's a lot of fun. I've met some very good friends who came to some of my talks. I used to produce events where I talk, because if no one's going to hire me to speak, I have to produce an event to let myself speak. And that's what I would do. I wouldn't do that. I don't do that again, because producing your own event is really difficult. Like, filling the seats is hard. Giving the talk is very easy. I could give it in my sleep, because I've done it so many times.
Yeah.
But producing events is harder. But I would love to give talks. I think it's a lot of fun. People reach out to you, and I make very good friends. And it's really like, when you do events like that, when you speak at an event or you are involved in an event somehow that's very large scale, the value in doing that is the promotion, the lead up promotion, or maybe the aftermath promotion, because that reach goes out to tens of thousands of people. It's very good branding for yourself. I went to a church in Staten Island, and these women, they're so kind. They cooked dinner for the whole community. I walked in, they didn't know that I had a very good friend there already who was helping them with things. And I walked in, they said, "Have you eaten dinner?" I'm like, "You don't even know who I am, and you're offering me," and they're like, "We're going to make you some fresh chicken." Like, it sounds so good, right? I offered to do a talk for them, and I have to teach them like soup to nuts how to have their digital presence ready before I do that. But I said, the reason why I do this talk and why you should help me host this talk is so that you can get followers. It's the 6-week lead up is where you're going to get tens of thousands of politicians, local leaders, community members, to share it. So events and speaking, and I speak about leveraging social and digital for personal, business, and career. I also speak about dating. And then I speak about like how to use dating apps and sites and online dating and how to actually navigate the dating aspects. I whittle down information from the best experts. It's not like me talking, but it's like through my lens. So those are the topics. And then I speak to universities. I mean, I was a professor, so I speak to job seekers, and nonprofits. So lots of different groups that I speak to on that topic.
Nice. And like I said earlier, you are an amazing storyteller. Like, you are an amazing story. I love your storytelling. So.
Oh, thank you.
You should definitely.
Sometimes I feel like I'm going on, and sometimes when people do that, I'm like, I don't know how to cut this person off. So I appreciate you don't cut me off, and then you give me the feedback that it's not that bad. So thank you.
The thing is, you know, I like to hear people's story. You know, no matter how long it is.
You're very patient.
And I like stories. So I like stories. So I like stories. So if it's instant, I'm not gonna stop you. I'm not gonna stop you. I'll let you keep going.
You should be. I'm going on an aside here, but like you should be some kind of counselor, like on the side, because you're very patient. You're very kind, and you kind of bring out the best in people. So it's something to consider. Counselors, unfortunately, don't make a whole lot of money, though. So you do need to get paid. So that's something to consider.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But
thank
you. I appreciate that. But what other projects that you got going on that you have not mentioned yet? I know you're already killing it. But is there anything else that you got going on?
I talk about these things, and people talk about these things. They're really not making that much money. I don't have like tons of clients or prospects lined up. It looks like I do. Like I'm doing a number of talks. I'm recruiting at Columbia. Like I don't know if I would have gone into Columbia Journalism School, but I'm recruiting there for forever. And like they give me a free ticket. Like they want the daily news there. It's not free. It's like hundreds of dollars, but they're like, okay, we need you to come. Like they keep emailing me like, you have to come, just come. And then NYU, the same thing. Like you really need you there. And they're like, you can do a webinar. We'll let you give like a seminar to the kids also. So, I do all these things. I'm not getting paid for them. So don't think that I'm like flourishing and killing it in terms of I have all these things lined up. I'm promoting all these events that I'm speaking at. Like they help me, but it's questionable how much people just think everybody else is making so much money and have all these gigs lined up. But in reality, and I've read about this, in reality, they're not killing it as much. The gap between them and you is not that big, which is why I give my talks. Like, you really need to learn how to monetize, or at least everything that you do has to go towards something that will be monetized, or like building blocks to it too. So speaking is my favorite. Speaking to groups, this growth, one of the best growth marketers, I forgot his name. He said, you never turn down an opportunity to speak. Like giving you a wide audience at once. I have turned it down so many times when I was younger. Like that was so stupid. I was so busy. I thought I was busy. I was stressed out at the time, maybe from my job. You never turn down an opportunity to speak. So yeah, I think so. Speaking, my photography, I'm always looking at what other media news orgs are doing, audience development, growth. And I have also something else I'm always looking for. I have a house that I'm always kind of repairing and maintaining. It's not something I ever wanted to do. I think if people have a house, they know what I'm talking about. It's nonstop, and it's really not something a lot of people are cut out to do. I will always barter, and I will always take help with that, and I will help people with their social media and their business and their digital growth. I will help people with that because this is something that's driving me crazy. So I'm always looking to barter for something in that space, like handymen or people to work with me on smaller projects or real construction, like helping me guide me through that process. It's a lot to go through by yourself.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I say that as long as you love what you're doing, that's all that matters, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I do enjoy. I do enjoy when I do give talks, and it's not that often, but I do enjoy it. And I'm doing it next week, so it's called AGS App Growth Summit. So I'll post things on Instagram where you can just read the summaries. I have like all my talks. I always have the summaries links, so you could read, the quick transcripts, see pictures from the things I've done, read some of the takeaways. If it's helpful for you, refer me to speak. I will speak at like any kind of event, people who really need the help. So yeah, that would be nice.
Nice. So what do you have to say for anybody that's going to see about you, with everything you're doing, from taking pictures, from you being a journalist and everything? Say something inspirational.
I think there's a famous book by Dale Carnegie. One of my favorite life coaches, Matthew Hussey, Hussey. I saw him having lunch. He's from London, but he lives in LA. I saw him having lunch in New York because he was doing some big talks in New York. I paid to see him speak in Philadelphia and New York because New York was sold out. I went all the way to Philadelphia. Like, I'm that crazy. I stopped him when he was having his lunch outside, and I told him, I wrote on your Facebook on a comment once, because he's not going to see it, it's in millions of comments, but I said, I'm glad that I'm alive at the same time as you. And he thought that was one of the top 3 compliments that he's ever received in his life. I mean, he has millions and millions of followers. He actually put me in his YouTube because I said that.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I keep on going on these tangents. A book that he really likes is, it's a famous book, but the fact that he likes it makes me want to read it, but I didn't. I just looked at the infographic summary. I have it tweeted also. It's How to Influence Friends, or how to win friends and influence people. And the thing is, he said, like, you could be the world's best DJ and you will not get beyond like being a neighborhood DJ. And you could be a mediocre DJ, but you know the right people and you know how to deal with those people, and you will be the biggest star DJ in the world. Those principles and tenets of how to market yourself and reach out to people, I'm not saying I do it somewhat. Like, I train people and they send me emails. Like, a student at Boston College sent me an email. She said, I did exactly like you told me to. I did not know what social media could do for me. I listened to you for 30 minutes. I reached out to she's pre-med. I reached out to a doctor at Mass General, which is Harvard's teaching hospital. And I'm having lunch with one of their biggest doctors next week. And so knowing how to reach out to people, it's a skill. It's a skill that you use every day. But not just reaching out to people, but getting that global DJ gig as a mediocre DJ. For people on the same route as me. So if you want to be a journalist, like, one, you have to be really savvy about where to find the jobs. Like, interact with them in a meaningful way on Instagram, Twitter, but then get them on LinkedIn and then send them a note where you offer help. If you're a photographer, offer help, like offer insight, offer perspective in groups where people are engaged, looking for a photographer, but you always offer help first. You never try to sell yourself, because I'm not looking to buy. You're coming out of nowhere. I don't know who you are. So you need to offer value first, and then you kind of lightly drop in what you're looking for. I want a job. I want to be a journalist. I want to shoot your wedding. You have to know how to make those meaningful connections and offer help first. Then you kind of lightly lure people to what will actually help you in life, which is money and experience and fun in what you chose to do.
Nice. Those are good advices. So before you go, we're gonna play a segment game called 5 Random Topics. Where I give you 5 random topics, and you give me a long or short response.
Oh, I think people are gonna lose their mind listening to this. They're like, this girl, she's talking forever. But thank you.
Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. What is your favorite food?
Okay. I am Chinese. My family really, I mean, they'll eat other things, but they really only like Asian food. So I eat a lot of Asian food. So that means when I'm not with my family, I love Italian food. It's like that's like the real comfort food, right? Like pasta, like cheesy things. Like that's the comfort food is comfort food too, but Italian food is real comfort food. So I really like Italian food. I do really like Asian food, but I can't have it if I'm not with my family because that's all I have with them. I do love Indian food and ethnic food. I do like to try everything. When I was a restaurant critic, you had to eat everything, like things that I would. Yeah. I mean, I had to eat foie gras, bone marrow, snails, like these, because I had to talk about the things that people are really going to want to try because it's popular stuff.
Yeah.
So I do like everything, but I also like Italian because you usually associate it with a warm setting. And I really like it. The restaurant critic at GQ, I forgot his name, Alan Richman, I think. He said it's not loving food. He's more of he's not a foodie. He's a restaurantee. He wants everything. He wants the whole experience. You're writing about the candles, the lighting, being transported to a different city, and the prospect of enjoying the company of the person sitting across from you. That's what he wants to write about. And he's very good. He's very award-winning and decorated. So that was a really interesting line to me. A restaurantee, in the prospect of enjoying the whole experience with someone. So yeah, I think that's why I really like it. I think that's also why I got into events, like event planning, which also entails photo. But then also writing about restaurants and nightlife. I think I wanted to escape a lot. I don't know if it was Staten Island or my personal situation, probably both. But I think Staten Island is really obsessed with restaurants and different environments and going overboard. Like Super Sweet 16 on MTV, that was Staten Island. Jersey Shore, that's Staten Island. That was all originated from Staten Island. I mean, there are comedians from Staten Island, like Eric D'Alessandro. He said there's a void in Staten Islanders' lives, which I would not doubt. And they just really try to escape. And there's one thing that we excel at is events and restaurants. So there's something there that ties together the mental health, the anxiety, and food that we've been talking about. It ties it all together.
Yeah. That's good. And I know for me, I like everything. I'm a big foodie, I'm not gonna lie. But my favorite had to be soul food, Caribbean food, and Thai food.
Thai food I like. Thai food is also typically more affordable than other food. It's a little more reliably affordable, although now it's like $20 for a tiny noodle dish now. I bring in money a lot. I'm like, my brain is like very fixated on making sure it's worth it, which is very weird. I love Caribbean food also. I just don't try it a whole lot, but that's like real cooking. You know, it's not like a hot sandwich. It's like real cooking. So I really do appreciate that. You know, goat, oxtail, all of it. It's very delectable.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. What is your sign?
I'm a Taurus, and I believe...
Oh, really?
I believe I am a Taurus in that they're very practical and rational. I love the beach, though. I don't know. Then again, like, who doesn't love the beach? Generally, everyone loves the beach. So, I don't like sitting in the sun, though, so maybe that's a Taurus in me. Like, I'm not the water sign. I don't like sitting in the sun because I'm very practical, and it's not, like, healthy for you. I am not going to look bad in the winter so that I can look good in the summer. Sorry. Like, you will look bad forever. That damage is forever. I remember GQ wrote, there is no such thing as a healthy glow. I mean, you know, it's fine if people want to do it, and it's, you know, not a terrible thing. But as soon as your skin changes color, that's damage. That's what it is. So I'm just saying this for people who like become leather, you know? So yeah, that was my answer to being a Taurus. I love the beach. I don't know how I'm a Taurus because I really do love water. So
now I see why that we get along so well, because I am also a Taurus.
All right. Oh, your birthday's coming up.
Yeah. When is your birthday?
April 23rd. Shirley Temple, William Shakespeare, Tayo Cruz, Gigi Hadid all have my birthday.
Nice.
And Jason Derulo also.
Nice,
No,
nice.
no, Tayo Cruz. Aren't they kind of interchangeable? Like, neither one of them have had any hits in a while, so
Yeah, that's true.
they're kind of interchangeable. It's Tayo Cruz.
My birthday is May 17th.
Is when? May 17th?
17th, yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's like, I mean, time goes by really fast. It'll be here before you know it, but yeah. You know, I'm also going to say, I'm like, knock on wood, I'm very superstitious and very scared. Spring has, I mean, if things happen in my life that aren't spectacular, it's always happened in the spring. So I get very scared. So for that reason, I get scared and very anxious around my birthday. But But it's, I think because when the weather gets warmer, life is supposed to happen. So you put yourself out there to do different things, and that's when things happen that may not be great. So, yeah.
I agree with that.
You do. That spring can bring some anxiety for different.
Yeah.
It's just happened that things have happened, like major things have happened in spring.
True.
But, it could be, but it could also be because in winter, nothing can happen. Well, of course, you know, bad things can happen anytime, but typically, it happens when you're like out of your house. So, yeah.
All right. Next question is, name something that you like that nobody knows about.
Oh, man. I don't... I mean, I'm gonna, because I'm really hungry right now, so I'm just thinking about food. I really like elevating leftovers. There's like, I don't know, that's probably not the best answer, but that's what I'm thinking about right now. Like, if you bring home fried rice, it's not going to be very good, but if you add raisins and nuts to it and an egg, that's like a whole nother meal. So I think that kind of just going into like being practical and efficient and not wasteful. That's my answer there. Yeah.
It's the answer. I mean, I do like leftovers too, but that's the answer.
But I mean, don't you like, you hate leftovers, but you like what it can be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do remember like my anxiety, like because you and I think we have trouble sleeping because you have liked my stuff too late at night on Instagram. That means I'm up too late. You're up too late also. Part of my anxiety, like it's at night. My other anxiety, like it doesn't let me eat. So when I went to talk to someone about like my sleep because it's so bad, and I get very upset that it's so bad, but it's me doing it. But I also think like social media, all these other things, like all these other factors are making you do it too. I don't like going into my fridge. I don't like eating because I see so many leftovers. And because it gives me so much anxiety. Like, I can't possibly eat so many half-eaten meals. Like, you want the real meal. So you want the meal that it was left over from, that you don't even remember having that. She said you have to make sure that you cook a small portion and finish that. That's what it is. Otherwise, you're going to open your fridge. You're going to be so upset because you have so many leftovers. But certain leftovers that are spectacular, elevating that, it is quite nice. Yeah.
And okay, something I like that nobody knows about. I like anime. You know, I like anime.
People should know that about you. Why wouldn't they know that about you?
I never really spoke about it heavy on the show like that. So this is like one thing I'm a.
That's cute though. I mean, obviously they have legions of followers, so I think that could be something nice to talk about.
Yeah.
But that's really interesting.
Yeah.
The other thing, I really love Squishmallows. Some people know about it. because I drove them crazy trying to find a Squishmallow. McDonald's was giving Squishmallows in their Happy Meals. I know I sound like a little kid right now, but I love, they're so cute. But it's like really, they had like little hand-sized Squishmallows, and they were making them in the likes of Grimace and Hamburglar. Yeah, they were so cute. I like cute things because I'm always stressed out. So if it's cute, it'll take me out of that trance for a while.
Yeah, but that's always good. That's always good.
Yeah.
Next question: your dream vacation, or somewhere that you always want to go but you haven't gone yet.
One of my favorite vacations, it was all inclusive. I have to say, all inclusive is really a way to travel. The only thing is now it's so prohibitively expensive. Like when I did it, it was like $100 to $200 a person a night, but it's so luxurious to know that you can go to any buffet, any restaurant on the resort. I didn't drink, so they made a lot of money off that. But smoothies, fruit, the buffets, all unlimited. So all-inclusive resorts on a beach, I have not done that. I did it once in my life, and then I've done like 2 cruises. I think like 2 or 3 cruises in your life. I think for the rest of the time, I think that real traveling, is better, or all-inclusive resorts, like being on land and going around.
Yeah.
I think a dream vacation would be like, I like the Bahamas because it's close. If the others were not quite so long a flight, I wouldn't mind it. But yeah, any kind of beachy place. This is me working in news now speaking, but like a lot of those nice beachy places, you have to be aware. You have to do your research because there's a lot of crime infiltrating even the resorts now. Really dangerous crime in a lot of various unrelated areas. So yeah, like Mexico, Bahamas, Jamaica, you really have to watch like the resort and the local news and the government warnings, like the US government warnings. It's kind of sad because I still want to go.
Yeah. I don't travel a lot, but I definitely do want to travel a whole lot. Mm-hmm. But one place that I want to go is Paris, France.
I went to Paris, and I took French for many years. Though it is, it's very it's romantic. It's a really beautiful city, and I'm not so into a lot of Europe. It depends. I think it depends on your company and who you go with. Like, I didn't expect to love Dublin, and I love Dublin. Like, LinkedIn sent me there, but that's because I think the people that I went with. But it's wonderful. Paris is not like such an old, like historic ruins kind of city. It's like a nice. And the other thing to know, it's a very nice city. The other thing to know, like, we have our celebrities.
Yeah.
UK has their royal family. France has its chefs. Chefs and cooking is like us and celebrities. So it's interesting to know. So you will not have a bad meal there.
Nice.
Like if you can appreciate the real technique of cooking, like Bobby Flay, one of my favorite people, one of my favorite chefs. I actually did work with him at CBS News. He said every time you pick up a spatula, you owe so much to like French cooking and French history, like cooking. That might not have been him. That might have been somebody on his show, but yes. Okay. Yeah. It's a nice city.
Nice. I definitely want to go there one day. One day.
Well, you could go there. It's not the same, but there are some really great French restaurants. I will tell you, in Midtown, 56th Street, I don't know if it's there, but I think it is called Le Bon Soup. I say that because my French class took a class trip there. Could you imagine how much fun that is as like a 11-year-old taking a class trip to a French restaurant in Midtown? We had to order in French. Imagine how cute that was too to all the waiters. We had to order in French, and it was just a very nice experience. That's one nice thing about Manhattan. That's why I was a restaurant critic. You can feel like you went to a city by picking a couple of really nice restaurants in that realm in the city because they decorate it and they do it so well.
Yeah. That restaurant does sound familiar. I feel like I've probably been there before, but
you might have passed it. It's very small. It's very unassuming, but it's a very. We have some very good ones, but I went to a class trip there, so I just remember it.
Nice. And last one, Give me one major goal you want for this year.
Oh. Okay, so I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna give you two. One is like a practical, unfun one, is to make some progress on the home repairs. Although I think a lot of people are going through this, which is why I bring it up. Like some guy on a dating site, I don't know why, but like on his dating profile, he said, I'm taking 2 months off because I need to take care of home issues that I've been putting off. That's exactly not what I want to hear, because I don't want to go through that with somebody else.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what I needed to hear, because that's exactly what I'm going through. So people say, like, when you're dating, like, you have all these issues and you think nobody can handle it. Other people probably have the same issue. So don't worry about that. But my other goal this year would be, I do have a goal of getting on a plane again. I haven't traveled on a plane since like 2021 or so. I went to Florida. But I flew like twice a year. For LinkedIn, I used to fly like every 2 weeks. So I would like to fly somewhere or go somewhere and feel pretty stress-free for maybe a week. A week is so sad. We have 52 weeks. I want one. I want one where I can be fully relaxed and doing nothing real or worrisome for 5-6 days. That's a sad goal, but that's something I would like. When you think of that in that perspective, it should seem very reasonable for you to want to do that. But at the same time, we still don't let ourselves do it.
Yeah. I know for me, definitely travel more. That's one thing that I definitely want to do and definitely need to do. Because I barely did it. And of course, more source of income for me. Way more source of income. I know we're supposed to have 7. And that's pretty much the goal that I want to do for this year.
Oh, okay. Well, we segueing into the future, we could do a podcast on how to use social and digital to boost your side hustle. That's what I'm speaking on. How to do it with not that many followers and no budget, but experience and practice. So something that we can talk about another time, because everyone needs a side hustle. One, because you are probably going to be unemployed at some point of your life. I mean, everybody is. You should have a side hustle, at least to look like you've been doing something in that time. It could take a long time to get a job. So if you have a side hustle, but it has to look legitimate, and there are ways to do that for free. And then you can have like very big followers and have no followers, but the ones that you have are very good and very helpful in that niche. So we could talk about that too.
Nice. And you know what? You already confirmed it. So I definitely want to bring you back for a future episode. Because one thing I want to say, thank you, Janie, for coming to the show.
Oh, thank you.
I really enjoyed our conversation.
Oh, me too.
You could tell that it really flowed because it was really a good conversation.
I'm always chatting. Thank you.
And I love your storytelling. And I definitely want to bring you back for a future episode. Talk about what you just mentioned about social media, and even more dive into more of the dating scene.
Oh, I would. That was when I first did podcast guesting. That was what I loved talking about. We can be very specific and lay out the different aspects that people would get from it, like 5 different aspects. If you look at my Instagram, it's pinned. It's like my first pinned post. And you actually commented, like, these are very good tips. It's only like 5-6 slides with the not so obvious things that you may not be doing right. And that's not me talking. It's the dating apps themselves or experts talking. So I love talking about that. There is nothing that get people more riled up than their search for a happy relationship. There's like nothing more that people get invested in or sad about because it's non-existent.
I agree, but for real, thank you for coming on the show, and we got to talk about stuff in the future. I'm definitely gonna bring you back.
Yeah,
I'm bringing you back multiple times.
Oh, thank you. I would love that.
but before you go, drop your social media where everybody can reach you, and drop everything that you're doing so everybody could check out your stuff and everything like that.
Oh, you're so kind.
This is your time.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay, so I do teach about how to leverage the big 4. So I don't have tons of followers, but you can tell that I know what I'm doing because the bio, like the basic setup is there. So that's all you need for those people who who are on Instagram, but they're not on Twitter or they're not on Facebook. You should be on all four. They're all the phone book. Like we used to have phone books, right? They're all directories. If you don't have a profile on these big four, then it's like not existing. You're not on. And maybe you might think, I don't need Facebook. I don't need these people on Facebook. There are millions of people on Facebook. Like if you are not making the money that you want to be making, there is no excuse to not have a listing on these directories, aka these social platforms. So the big four that I talk about, and there are more, but these are the big four, at least on the basic level, for people vetting you of whether they want to hire you or do business with you as like a vendor or consultant. So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. Instagram, I'm Janie K Ho. It's Janie, like Jamie, but with an N, and Ho is Ho. So Janie K Ho. Twitter, it's Janie Ho 16. Facebook is FB. You know, you can shorten your Facebook URL when you like on email signatures and things. It's like you don't have to write Facebook. It's fb.com/Janie12. Okay, because 12 was like my softball number. I played softball in high school. I really like the number 12, like Tom Brady. So it's not for Tom Brady, but I do like the number 12. So it's Janie12 or Janie Ho. Just search for Janie Ho. And on LinkedIn, you could just search for Janie Ho. I'm the one in New York City. I have a pink ring around my profile picture, which I can talk about when we talk about like how to leverage social media. You make that in Canva for free. That follows you all around the platform. Every move you make, you have a colored ring around your profile picture. Really makes you stand out. Also on dating apps, like in messaging, when people have like hundreds of messages in their inbox, you have a colored ring. You have a highlight around your picture. So it's helpful. So that's how you can find me in searches. The other thing is if you go to any of my social platforms, like you just Google Janie Ho. I work in search engine optimization, so I come up pretty high for Janie Ho. There are a couple of Janie Hos. On any social platform, in the bio link, you can get to all my other socials. And that's, I think, what everyone should do also. You will be able to easily click a link and get to all four of my other social links. Okay? So this is also all wrapped up on my about.me, which is another thing that we can talk about. If you don't have a website, you should have an about.me. It's a one-page website. Everyone likes it because they know it's one page. They do not have to figure out how to navigate a weird website that you randomly created. They know that it's one page. So all of my socials are at the bottom, which is what an about me is. They have all your social icons at the bottom. And it has all my bios, my samples, decks, like presentations about myself, like summaries and my samples. So all of my social is on about.me/Janie Ho. Okay, and that's where you can get all my links. But you can also Google me. I'm pretty findable. I made it that way. So yes, and message me. What people should do also, if you think you're ever going to look for a job or anything else, you should have open DMs on all of them. On LinkedIn, to have open DMs, you have to be premium, I believe, to have anyone contact you, even if they're not connected to you. That's like a little bit of money. But I worked at LinkedIn, so that's like lifetime premium. But on all the other social platforms, you can make it so that anyone could DM you. And I recommend that everyone has that. I mean, do you not want people to offer you jobs and money? I mean, like, so people don't like it because maybe they get too many messages, maybe like spam, but deal with that. Like, I don't think anyone, if you have too many messages, that's a high quality problem, they say. Like, if you have too many people asking you out on dates, that's a high quality problem. So, yeah, you should have open DMs. And we'll get into this, but you should also tell people to DM you, because some people don't want to be heard from. If I'm telling you to DM me, guess what? That means I'm going to respond. People know that. So you should say hi or DM me for a free whatever. Like, you have to give them an incentive to DM you. They won't message you about something for free. they will know that you are generally a nice, giving person from reading that, though. So you should note that and note what they're going to get from saying hello. And you should all say hello to me. Yeah.
All right, there you go. And thank you, Janie, for coming to the show. And thank you, and we'll be right back.
Okay, thank you. Bye, everyone.
Hello, everybody. This is your boy Ken, aka Mr. Gentleman. Now, I am the host of Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast, and this commercial break is brought to you by Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast presents Spin-off Series Thursdays. And Spin-off Series Thursday is the new home for Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast Spin-off Series that brought to you shows like A Conversation About Music Podcast, The Old School Show, and Date Night Talk Podcast. And A Conversation About Music Podcast is a music spin-off series where we talk about anything music, from the current music scene and the old school music scene, where we interview many guests that's in the music industry and artists about their music journey. We have a segment game called The Face Off, which is a versus inspired game. And we have roundtable discussion about variety of music topics. And y'all can check out A Conversation About Music Podcast every first Thursday at 12 a.m. Every first Thursday at 12 a.m. Now, the Old School Show that featured myself and the star Roddy Rod is a show where we discuss anything old school, from music, TV shows, movies, and many more. We also bring in guests to join in on the old school conversation. Y'all can check out the Old School Show with myself and the star Roddy Rod every fourth Thursday at 12 a.m. Every fourth Thursday at 12 a.m. And last but not least, we have Date Night Talk Podcast with myself and Miss Vanna B, where we talk about anything relationship related topics like love, dating, relationships, cheating, the good and the bad, and many more. And y'all can check out this spin-off series, Date Night Talk Podcast, every second and third Thursday at 12 p.m. So look out for Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast presents Spin-off Series Thursday, A Conversation About Music Podcast every first Thursday. The Old School Show with myself and the star Roddy Rod every fourth Thursdays, and Date Night Talk Podcast with myself and Miss Vanna B every second and third Thursdays. And y'all can check out Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast every Sundays for the main series and every Thursday for spin-off series Thursdays. And thank y'all for checking out this commercial break. And now back to your regularly scheduled program. True! I just want to take the time to thank everybody for tuning in to this latest episode of Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Thank you to my special guest, Miss Janie Ho, for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for the storytelling that you gave to my audience. Thank you for the amazing conversation. Thank you for being you. And thank you for really diving into your journey. And even though this was a long episode, thanks for having a good time on the show. And I feel like there's many more to come. So we definitely gonna bring you back for a future episode of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast. And I am looking forward to that. Once again, thank you, Miss Janie, for coming on the show. Y'all already know where y'all can check out MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast every Sundays for the main series, every Thursdays for spin-off series Thursdays, where we have shows like A Conversation About Music Podcast every first Thursday at 12 p.m., Date Night Talk Podcast with myself and Ms. Vanna B every second and third Thursday at 12 p.m., and the Old School Show with myself and the Star Rider Rod every fourth Thursday at 12 p.m. You can check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Pods, and many more. Y'all can rate the show 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, and Pod Chasers. The more y'all rate the show, the more people know about the Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at Ken, aka Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Ken, aka Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. If you want to be a guest on Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast or any other spin-off series Thursday show, send me a bio about yourself, everything that you do to my email, kenypgent@gmail.com, or hit me up on social media, Ken_Mr. Gentleman. I repeat, Ken, Ken _Mr. MR Gentleman, GENTLEMAN, and we can set something up. I am looking for guests for season 8 of Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast main series and any other spin-off series Thursday shows. You can also check me on the Premier Boys Podcast with myself, Aaron Keto Sands, the Star Rider Rod, and Long Live Cheat Money Mel. New episodes of the Premier Boys Podcast every Wednesday at 12 p.m. New episodes of the Premier Boys Podcast every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Season 4. You can also check out other shows from the Premier Powers, King Talk with Aaron Sands, hosted by Aaron, King Talk Sands, every Friday at 12 p.m. Star Time Podcast, hosted by the Star Rider Rod, every Monday at 12 p.m. And Welcome to the Trilogy, hosted by Long Live the Chief Mighty Mal, every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Support and check out every show on the Premier Podverse. And y'all can add me on Good Pods, Ken, Mr. Gentleman. Y'all already know Good Pod caters to many independent podcasters. We see what everybody listens to. We rate each other's shows, and we have the charts. And that's the time for Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Achievements, where we spotlight everything Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast is doing. And for top 100 shows on Good Pods, Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast is number 4 on the normal charts and number 3 on the indie charts. For Society and Culture, we are still number 1 for Society and Culture. 31 days. Number 1 for Society and Culture. For top 100 episodes, we are number 3 for the Entrepreneur Life episode with Alejandra Carr, and number 4 on the indie charts. And we are also number 4 on the Date Night Talk episode 8, First Date Chronicles, and number 5 on the indie charts. I just want to say thank you everybody that tuned in to Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast and continue to show us love. It really means a lot. Thank you, y'all, and continue to grow the show on all the podcast platforms, not only on Good Pod, but Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and many more. It always means a lot that everybody listens to the show, and once again, I thank y'all. It really means a lot. Also, check out the official website of Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast, www.realmrgentlemanlifestylepodcast.com. You can listen to every episode of Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. You can watch every video on Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast from the audio version from Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast TV For the Mr. Gentleman Fact Quote of the Day, we can check out every guest that's been on Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast. All 68 guests that have been on the show. Janie whole profile will be added on the website. So check it out. And everybody else that's been on Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast. Check out every guest appearance that I've been on. More guest appearances coming real soon. And of course, support the official merch store of Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast at tpublic.com. Search Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast. Or you can buy merch through the website. Just search Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast. We have shirts, hoodies, mugs, and many more. Support the official merch store so we can upgrade your Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast listening experiences. So once again, check out the official website, www.realmrgentlemanlikethatpodcast.com. And once again, thank y'all for tuning into the latest episode of Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast. Coming up next, this Thursday, we got another episode of Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast presents Date Night Talk podcast, a part of Spin-off Series Thursdays. And next Sunday, we got another new episode of The Gentleman Like That podcast. She is a podcast host. She is a comedian. And we're going to talk to her about a whole lot of stuff and many more. Have a good day or night wherever you're listening to this episode.
It's your girl, Victoria J, and you're listening to Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast.